Hello and welcome to the Insights and Motivation YouTube podcast. Yes, this is an AI-generated content, but remember, there was a human at the beginning of it, creating and curating this material with care and purpose. I request you, dear listener, to step aside from any bias and listen to the message itself. Take the message, not the messenger. That is the key. The same is true for the rest of the playlists and podcasts on this channel, each designed to inspire thought, dialogue, and transformation. Now let me begin the podcast. Civic education and awareness in schools. The best way to teach democracy is not to describe it in textbooks, but to let students practice it in their daily lives. Civic education must move beyond the pages of social studies and enter the lived experiences of students. When schools provide opportunities for mock elections, participatory budgeting, and role-based simulations, they are not staging theatrics. They are planting the seeds of democratic citizenship. These experiences transform abstract concepts like justice, fairness, and responsibility into tangible lessons students carry for life. Why is this principle so necessary? Because children learn most deeply by doing. You can explain to a student what voting means, but until they cast a ballot in a school election and see the results of collective choice, the lesson remains distant. You can define fairness in words, but until they sit in a budget committee and negotiate over whether to buy library books or sports equipment, fairness is just theory. Civic education must be lived, not lectured. The advantages of embedding civic practice in schools are profound. Students who take part in democratic exercises learn collaboration, patience, and respect for different viewpoints. They begin to understand compromise as strength, not weakness. They experience firsthand that participation is not only a right, but also a responsibility. This prepares them to be engaged citizens who do not stand by passively, but step forward to contribute to their communities. Sadly, in many schools, civic education remains confined to rote memorization of constitutions, rights, and duties. Lessons are often delivered as static knowledge with little opportunity for practice. Students can recite articles of law but have never voted in a meaningful election, debated a policy, or engaged in shared governance. This disconnect breeds apathy. Civic principles are memorized for exams and then forgotten, rather than internalized as guiding values. The consequences of ignoring civic practice are visible in society. We see declining voter participation, rising distrust of institutions, and communities fractured by polarization. These issues do not arise suddenly in adulthood. They are cultivated in childhood when students are denied the opportunity to engage with democracy in action. A generation that never practiced participation in schools is more likely to disengage from participation in society. But when schools embrace civic education sincerely, the transformation is striking. Mock elections teach the power of choice and responsibility. Participatory budgeting exercises show that resources are finite and that fairness requires dialogue. Role-based simulations reveal how governance is complex but solvable when diverse voices contribute. Through these practices, students begin to see themselves not as spectators of society, but as participants and shapers of it. Civic education also teaches humility and resilience. Not every student's candidate wins, not every proposal is adopted, and not every debate goes their way. These experiences, though disappointing in the moment, are invaluable in preparing them for the realities of democratic life. They learn that losing gracefully and continuing to participate is as essential to democracy as winning. If schools ignore civic practice, they will continue producing graduates who know the vocabulary of democracy, but not its spirit. But if schools integrate it into daily learning, they will raise citizens who are thoughtful, engaged, and equipped to tackle the challenges of modern societies with fairness and responsibility. Civic education will cease to be a subject on a timetable and will become a habit of mind and heart. The classroom, then, becomes the first parliament, the first budget meeting, the first public square. Every election held, every simulation conducted, every shared decision made is a rehearsal for democratic life outside the school walls. By embedding civic education and awareness into the core of schooling, we do not just inform students about democracy, we empower them to live it, protect it, and improve it. Did this podcast resonate with you? Are you an educator or a higher authority with the ability to influence educational policy and reform? If so, I encourage you to share this podcast as widely as possible within your connections, and do share and subscribe to this channel. This channel has lots of playlists and educational psychological content with a focus on how to improve all systems of education, corporate culture, and many such topics. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next podcast.